Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I'm so excited to be here. I thank you for joining me today. I'm excited to be a part of this summit. Hopefully, I can bring some value and information to you. We're going to be talking about why you should be hiring veterans. My name is Dr. Victoria Benson, and I'm currently the Vice President of Human Resources at MedCost. We're an insurance company located in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, and we service the North Carolina, South Carolina, and Virginia markets. Though we have employees currently living in 10 states. The purpose of this training is to help provide some information on why you should be hiring veterans, the benefits surrounding a prior military individual can bring to your organization, and where to find them. In today's training, we're going to cover some of the who's, whys, and wheres. First of all, who am I? What do I know? Why veterans? Some of the top 10 reasons, and where can I find them? After this session, I hope that you will be able to search for and hire some of your best and brightest talent from the military community. I'll start with a little bit about me. What do I know? First of all, I love all things Goofy. He's in every room of my house, literally, but you can't see him sometimes. It's a little bit subtle. I'm not crazy, but I do love all things Disney, especially Goofy. So I've been in the human resources field for over 25 years. I've worked for small government contractors, private businesses, and even higher education. I started college at University of Central Florida in Orlando right after high school. And within 2 years, I found myself working a little bit more than I was going to school to try and keep up with costs. While I was moving up the career ladder, I realized I also didn't want my entire career to be in fast food, McDonald's to be specific. Although I always say, had I stayed, I'd probably be retired and own 10 stores by now. However, I up and joined the Navy. I spent a total of 11 years, both active and reserve. And when it came time to re-enlist, I got out after I got back from Kuwait. While on active duty, I worked on the flight line, parking and launching aircraft during the Haitian crisis, and aircraft maintenance administration men in Key West, Florida. At the aircraft terminal and cargo passenger manifest control in Iceland, it was cold but beautiful. At the U.S. Transportation Command in Illinois, working jointly with a variety of government services and transportation, and customs in Kuwait during Operation Iraqi Freedom. I did change naval policy. I'll talk briefly about that a little bit later, allowing reservists to wear their uniforms home on commercial aircraft. If you want to know the full story, ask me later. It's actually not all about me today. But as a reservist, I was attached to the 6th Fleet out of Marietta, Georgia. I went many places for my 2 weeks, including a trip to Romania, where services from all over the world participated in an exercise as part of the process for Romania to become part of NATO. All of these included managing paperwork and leading people in both administration and human resources. I was fortunate that after I left the service, having had some college under my belt, I was in the field of HR already, I found a job pretty quickly. Unfortunately, that's not the case for all veterans. So why should I be hiring veterans, as you say to me, in HR? As a talent manager, as a director of talent, as a hiring manager, as just someone who wants to increase the level of knowledge in your organization. How can they serve me and my organization best? What's the value? What's so special and what do they bring to the table? Those are just some of the whys. What about the why nots? Here's what I hear a lot. Experience isn't a match. They can't translate civilian jobs to military. They're too rigid. We're a casual company. They can't assimilate to our culture. So tell me why. So let me tell you some of the top 10 reasons veterans bring value to any organization. These are in no specific order, but they are some of the top 10 reasons and values that they bring. So the first one is leadership. They take, give, receive, have learned from, know all things about direction, delegation, motivation, and inspiration. They lead by example, having had led by example and received example of good leadership mostly. More often than not, a veteran has served as a leader in some capacity. Even if they were only in for 4 years, even if in 2 years, sometimes in boot camp, service school, or as just a newbie on the base, they'll be in that leadership role. Number 2, they have a high degree of training. From boot camp to specialized school, A school, C school, the moment you step off the bus, you start to learn. And what that means for you as an organization is that they're able to learn. They take direction well. They're able to learn new skills and adapt. There's continuous training in the military, both required training and optional training. While there is the GI Bill, many take advantage of it to better their education, either getting a technical certification or a college degree. Unfortunately, not everyone does, but many do. Number 3, diversity and inclusion in action. As a military veteran myself, as just any veteran in the world, you will work with a variety of people from a variety of backgrounds, religions, economic statuses, geographic origins, genders, not to mention people with mental, physical, and attitudinal capabilities that are different than yours. I mentioned earlier that I worked for the United States Transportation Command, US Transcom. And that was all branches of the service working together for a single purpose. You don't get that really in general business. You go into an organization, they're very similar to you. You don't have a whole lot of exposure to outside areas or geographic boundaries. When we went to Kuwait, there was a total of 400 reservists out of 42 different reserve units coming together as one, led by one Marine colonel, in Kuwait. And we made it successful, and we did it. And that's because we've learned as a military veteran all of the different backgrounds on how to work with people on a general basis. Number 4, teamwork. Again, the moment you step off the bus, you're taught about teamwork in boot camp. And actually, the purpose of boot camp is to break you as an individual and build you back up as a team. While that it may not seem like something that you want to go run out and do, it does have a purpose. During wartime, you've got to be able to trust the person next to you, to the right and to the left, forward and back. And if you can't learn to work together with those people, whether you like them or not, then you won't be successful. The reason why we're the greatest power on the planet is because we have learned how to do this and teach one another during boot camp. So when you look at Seabees, I was a Seabee as a reservist in Orlando. They build things. You have to work together as a team to build things, as do the Marines. On the state side, you're going to have guard duty, their team sports, go Navy, their watches. You have duties, and you want to make sure that you're preparing the person in front of you and behind you. So you always have teamwork is in the forefront of any military veteran. Stateside, which is OCONUS, it's inside the continental United States, or CONUS. There's orientation to the community where you're at, and especially when you go outside of the continental United States, you're going to receive an orientation to ensure that you understand the culture that you're going to. This may not seem like a part of teamwork, but it is, because you have to understand as a team that you all are in the same room getting the same information moving forward into a culture. I always talk about when I was in Iceland, I love a good story, but when I was in Iceland, when they teach you the culture of Iceland, they tell you Icelandics will go from point A to B, no matter who's in front of them. So when you go to the mall, if we went to the mall in Reykjavik, and two people will have a conversation, they'll walk right in between them and not say a word. If they're trying to get to the other side of the room and you happen to be in their way, they might shove you. I mean, they're not going to shove you, but they might touch your shoulder and move you out of the way. And they're not going to say anything, because in their culture, if they were to say something to you, that would actually be considered rude, and they don't want to interrupt your conversation. Now, I don't know about you, but if I go downtown in a mall in Miami and somebody shoves me, it's going to be a whole different conversation. So part of that teamwork is understanding what you are assimilating to as a culture, what you need to understand about that culture. Again, that goes back to that training, that they're able to learn and understand that information and move forward. If you think about a ship, on a ship, I was never on one, fortunately or not. Everybody has to work together to play a part on the ship, to clean, to keep it running and smooth, to be ready to go underway whenever necessary. So all of those things are important in teamwork. And within the military community, across the globe, regardless of your branch, teamwork is evident and apparent. Number 5, respect for procedures. Military veterans understand the chain of command. There's been a lot of people above me that I didn't really like, whether it be a first class or an officer. I wasn't a big fan of, but I respected their position. I respected their title and their rank. And military people understand that. They understand policies and procedures. We don't hardly do anything without a policy or a procedure. Even in HR, I like things very specific. I like things very conscientious. I like to know what I'm supposed to be doing and what I'm not supposed to be doing. But many people don't challenge the rules, but doesn't mean that the rules don't get challenged. Just because we're following a procedure doesn't mean that we won't ever have our own ideas about something. So that does exist in the military, but it's also very clear that in the military, you're going to have a respect for the procedures and the policies that are around. Number 6, this is a big one. Character. Where else are you going to find all of these people that are committed like they were in the military? These are actually the pillars that these military services live by. In the Navy and Marines, honor, courage, and commitment. Some of you may know, may not know. Yes, the Marines are a part of the Navy. Yes, I understand that they're men's department, and I'm okay with that. I love being a part of the Navy and Marines. In the Air Force, the integrity first, service before self, excellence in all we do. In the Army, it's loyalty, duty, respect, personal courage, honor, integrity, and selfless service. In the Coast Guard, it's honor, respect, and devotion to duty. In the Department of Defense, in its entirety, duty, integrity, ethics, honor, courage, and loyalty. See a lot of those words repeated pretty often throughout all of these words here, and it's because we have character as military. Now, again, you're going to have a one-off. You're going to have some people who may lack some of these attributes and values, but in general, most of the military people have this character and walk into every organization with this character under their belt. Number 7, military veterans have been pressure tested. We are great under stress. If you think not only in boot camp, that can be very stressful for lots of people, lots of individuals, but going to your first duty station, especially if you're young, learning how to figure it out on your own. I remember my grandfather telling me a story when he was in the South Pacific in the Navy. They rode over on a boat, and at that time they used hammocks. If you can stand it, they still had hammocks on the boats. But he said after it took 20 tries to get into the hammocks, some of the kids would just cry themselves to sleep. It's a brand new environment. It can be very scary, but every one of them got up and carried on about their day. And that's what we do. In every area of the military, you're going to see that pressure testing. Think about people who have been in for 20, 30 years. Consistently, the military moves 3 to 4 years, every 3 to 4 years to a new duty station. That's making new friends. That's making new acquaintances. That's meeting your new neighbors. That's meeting your new boss every 3 to 4 years. And if you have a family, that's even tough on your family. But understanding how that's relevant to all of them and to you, and being able to get up every day and do it every 3 years, do it every 4 years, is something that keeps us going. As we say, keep calm and do boot camp. It's one of those things that you just learn how to overcome, or you learn how to manage. Now, granted, some of us are better than others at learning how to manage that stress, but we've all been through it, and we get up and carry on. So even in a duty station in something like South Carolina, even if you're local and you're in a cushy seat, it's a great duty station, but maybe your family's in California. So you didn't actually choose the location. You're just told to go there and do your job, and you get up and do it. And military people understand that. They understand that pressure testing, and they understand what it means to be in a stressful environment. So number 8, health and safety. Now, this seems like a weird thing to be excited about or to promote for a veteran, but in your organization, for somebody to be conscious of standards, and not just regular standards for your business, but grooming standards. I mean, everybody has a way that they want people to look. For better or for worse, the remote environment has changed us and made it a little bit easier to be who you are, show up who you are, without kind of those stringent requirements as far as grooming. But in the military, you're required to dress a certain way, to look a certain way. Your hair has to be a certain way. For men, the facial hair has to be a certain way in length. A lot of times veterans get out and they grow everything. They grow the beard, they grow their hair super long, get 15 earrings, whatever that looks like. But we understand what the purposes of those are for safety reasons, especially on a boat or even in a violent area. You don't want, dangly earrings if you're going to be on a ship. It's just those safety standards that people pay particular attention to. And it's something that you have to learn, sometimes on your own, sometimes with the help of others. Another story, when I was in Iceland, there was a young gentleman. It was his first duty station in Iceland, no less. He was just 18 years old and had never been out on his own. He didn't know how to do laundry. He had to constantly be reminded to shower and to brush your teeth. Now, in those days, there were specific ways that we managed that kind of training, but he did learn very quickly. But it's one of those things you don't think about in terms of young children or young adults that are coming into the workforce today. But we understand that. We've been through at least part of that. They understand the health and safety of those around them. Again, focusing on that teamwork. If we hadn't helped this young gentleman in Iceland get his stuff together, so to speak, he may not have been as successful as he was. So it's working together as a team. It's making sure that they have that respect for health and safety, as it were. Number 9, technology and globalization. The military veterans are exposed to advanced technology. We're exposed to computer systems that are new and different, and they can be different across bases, but most of them are highly advanced. Obviously, highly advanced weaponry, although not everybody has access or exposure to that, but techniques as well. The military, I remember in Key West, was one of the first to roll out the TQM, which is the total quality management idea. And that idea was really to help understand how to be a leader, not necessarily manage, but it was a bigger, broader learning experience that started off with the military very early on. Get lots of exposure to different techniques of way to do things, opportunities within the military service. We also have globalization. Again, I went to Kuwait, I've been to Iceland, I've been to Romania. I've seen different cultures and people. We've been exposed to the technologies that they have. In Romania, I remember in the NATO exercise, we were stuck in a building that I don't think had been used by people in about 40 years. So they didn't have the best stuff, but we brought all of our own technology, and were able to plug in and get this entire command center going. And it was pretty impressive for all of the military services. And that included economy and trade and cultures of other countries. So not only was it, us as the United States came over for 2 weeks, but this 2-week exercise involved Turkey, Bulgaria, Russia. Military people from all over the country joined to have this exercise. And we had to learn to work together. We had to understand their culture. We had to ask the questions. We had to be a part of this process and understand that economy and trade. I know in the military, some of our trade are coins, but understanding what that means and what it's for is something that a military veteran can bring to your organization. And last but not least, for the top 10 are WIFM. What's in it for me, right? What do I get as a business? What does it mean when I get to hire a military veteran? Okay, maybe they bring some of those things, maybe they don't, but what else? Well, how about you as a business, as an organization? Not only get to help those people who served our country, but you get perks as well. There's work opportunity tax credits. There's on-the-job training. There are funds available to help you hire an eligible applicant with up to 50% of their wage paid for by the government while they're getting trained. There are grants for military friendly and high military use employers that hire a lot of veterans that use those talents that are available and bring it to their organization. And if you didn't know, also, the United States Department of Labor actually gives awards to those who hire veterans with gold and platinum awards. You can go to their Vets Medallion program website and find out a little bit more about it. But wouldn't you like to have that on your recruiting efforts, on your building, wherever you wanted to have your award? It's great to be recognized for anything, but if you're supporting our servicemen and women, this is a great award to achieve. All right, so now we've talked about, what are the top 10 reasons? Why am I going to hire a veteran? What are they going to do for me? So where do I find them? If anybody remembers, where's Waldo? I don't even think I found him in this picture, but where do I look for and recruit veterans? Where can I possibly go? Well, it's actually pretty simple. It's all of the same places you're going to find everybody who isn't a veteran. LinkedIn, Indeed. We were talking just yesterday. I'm not sure that anybody really uses Career Builder or Monster anymore, but those are still available. Some of them are still all over. The connections that you make. Local colleges have people who are either getting ready to go into the military or maybe have come from the military and are using their GI Bill. That's another place to start in your local area. Make sure that you state in your job descriptions that you're either specifically looking for veterans or that you're a veteran military friendly company that attracts veterans. If you don't understand how a rate or rank is relevant to a veteran or to the job that they've applied for, ask them. especially when they hire. But you can also search va.gov, which is your local government area, to tell you what local bases there are. Maybe there's a transition planning base that's around. Jacksonville, Florida is a big area for people who are exiting the Navy specifically. We usually exit over there if you're on the East Coast or in Norfolk, and it's just kind of a general place. And they have job boards that they place jobs there. Any kind of local military base, if you go to the base and call them up and say, hey, do you have a job board? You might attract those people who are getting ready to get out and want to stay in the area or thinking of staying in the area. Lots of states have their own specific career center. Here in North Carolina, we have NC4Me, and that's North Carolina for Military Employment. It's a really great organization. They target anybody and everybody to make sure that we're hiring veterans, that we're doing what we can for our community. They are out in the community. They're at the local HR events. They are out as much as they can be to promote hiring veterans and the reason why you'd want to do so. I'm going to search the va.gov again to find those places that are local to you, so that either maybe they have a job board or maybe they have a place that they send their veterans. So if they have, that could even be a local VA. Hey, if I call up the VA and say, where can I find a job? Where do you point them to? And that could help a lot. Veterans have an extra that you just can't find in civilians. They answered the call, they did the time, and now's the time to reward them for that. You got to give them a chance. I know it's hard and difficult when you see a veteran and they say that, like I said in the beginning of mine, I was an aviation maintenance administration man. What in the world does that even mean? Well, you know what? All it means is that I did the paperwork for the aircraft. That's all that means. But sometimes when you have to ask somebody, what does that mean? Well, I did paperwork. I did maintenance paperwork, 60, 90-day checklist. It's important to have those questions. If you're set on hiring veterans and you want to hire veterans, then when you see one who maybe they don't quite fit all of the qualifications, have a conversation with them, help them and help you understand how they can be better. I know that there are several presentations about how their experience translates into the civilian community, as well as helping them find purpose and value. I watched Georgiana did a session on purpose. And that's the big thing with the military. And I know when I transitioned out, and sometimes still, it's hard to find that purpose in another organization because we've just stood up and took the call, right? We as veterans stood up and said, yeah, I'll write the check. I want to go in the military. And especially those who retired, it feels pretty powerful to say that my purpose is supporting my country and serving my country. And so, but your company can do the same. You can do the same in making sure that they feel valued and making sure that they are hired, that they get the job, and that you're having conversations with them. I think it's important from an HR perspective to make sure that we're having conversations with people. And a lot of times people just don't want to take the time, but especially in this remote environment, it's so important to connect with people. It's so important to ask the questions and to make sure that you're getting the value from the employee, and then the employee feels dedicated and getting the value from you. So you want to make sure that you're doing the same for all of those. I encourage you, if you do get on the path and you're hiring a lot of veterans, which I highly recommend for all of these reasons, that maybe you attend some of the other sessions where they talk about how to transition the veteran and how you as an employer can speak to that veteran a little bit differently just because of their circumstances. So they may have just got out, they may have had 20 years, and maybe they're kind of stuck in that, what's the policy and procedure, and you don't have one. Make sure that you're having those conversations. You don't let them struggle and falter in your company because they're a little bit different in how they approach their work. Having those conversations often and early will keep them engaged and keep them a bigger part of your company for a long period of time. So in summer, we talked about the 10 reasons to hire a veteran and where to find them. We want to make sure that you understand the value that a veteran can bring in your organization. If you don't have them already, that you want to actively seek them. Again, if you put in your job posting that you're looking specifically for veterans, that you're a military or veteran-friendly company, and by that, you mean that you will have those conversations with them, that you're able to discuss with them what their purpose can be here, how they're valued, how their skills are going to translate, and how it's going to look different. A lot of time companies can't explain how it's going to be different from the military, but that's where a veteran will come in. Someone who's seasoned, been out in the workforce a little bit longer, can have those conversations with you as an HR manager, an HR hiring manager, to say, here's what they need. If they're struggling in this area, here's some of the things that you can talk to them about. So it's just an opportunity to have those conversations to make sure that everybody's getting what they need from the organization and from the employees, so there's a match. I heard another presenter earlier talk about when somebody gets out of the military, they change jobs a lot, really right after they get out, every 2 to 3 years or so. And in the HR community, it's not such a shock anymore. It usually shocks me when people have been with an organization more than 5 years, especially as you go up into an organization in the higher levels. But those military veterans, they're just searching and they don't know what really to find, or they're trying to find a fit for their skills or a fit for the veteran life, the camaraderie that you have in the military that you don't see very much in the civilian world. So making sure that you're keeping an eye on them, having a conversation with them to keep them engaged is really, really important from both the employer side, so that you make sure that you're not using up those valuable dollars that you spend in recruitment and training, but also so that you've got a dedicated employee that will really put their effort forth for you as the employer. We talked about where to find them, which is really where you find any other eligible employee or potential employee, and that's on Indeed, on Search. But some other places that you can look is, local VA, either hospitals or transition points, like again, Jacksonville and Norfolk are big areas. They might have job boards. Where are they sending their veterans when they get people out of the military? Where do they tell them to go look for jobs? Your local job board at a base may have some opportunities for you to post your jobs, so that those who are transitioning out from that area and want to stay in that area or are coming to that area, maybe there's a commissary, maybe there's a store that people go to often that are from all over the world, and maybe that's an opportunity for you to post as well. I think it's important to make sure that you're making connections with veterans via LinkedIn, via summits like these and sessions like these, that you can reach out and have connections across the room, across the world, with other people who understand veterans or who are veterans, and use that word of mouth so that you're getting that information out to the people who really need it and can use it. And that is all that I have for you today. I did it in under 30 minutes. Usually I talk super fast. I wasn't sure how many questions there were going to be. It looks like it's just me and you in the session, which is fine. I see that we're taping it, so hopefully it will be able to be played and viewed and useful for somebody in the future. I'm open to any questions if anybody has any. And if not, I really want to appreciate you giving me the opportunity to come and have this conversation. I think it's important to make sure that we're giving back to our veterans and that we're keeping them in the forefront of our minds when we're hiring, and understanding the value that they can bring to your organization and any organization across the globe.
Absolutely, Dr. Benson. Thank you so much. And we do have this session recorded, so many of you that will be attending will be watching the recorded replay. Dr. Benson, what would be the best way for them to reach out to you if they had any follow-up questions after they watch this replay?
Absolutely. I'm on LinkedIn. So I'm in via MedCost. You can find me, or my email for my work is vbenson@medcost.com. Or you can find me on LinkedIn, and that actually goes to my Gmail account. I look forward to reaching out to answering any questions that anyone has for me.
Perfect. And everyone, I did just put her email address there in the chat. We really appreciate you taking the time to give this great presentation today. It was very informative, and we are very much looking forward to our hiring professionals and our HR professionals watching this recorded replay and finding out ways that they can hire more veterans and veteran spouses into their organizations. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and end this live session. And we would love for you to join us in the lounge. There will be some networking going on there here shortly before our final session begins at 4 o'clock today. Thank you so much again, Dr. Benson. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. I thought for sure you were going to say snacks in the lounge, and I was going to, that was going to happen, but I'm going to go get some myself. So
that might be interesting in a virtual environment for sure.
Yes. Thank you very much. I appreciate it so much. Best of luck to everyone.
Thank you again. And everyone, we're going to sign off and end this session now, and we hope you enjoy this recorded replay.